Welcome to the CDG BizCast. I'm your host, Christian Gonzalez, co-owner of Creativity Design Group, a digital marketing firm in Houston, Texas. Today, we are going to be discussing how AI can play a significant role in the hiring process. If you own a business or work in a human resources department and are seeking great candidates, this episode is for you. Fletcher Wimbush, owner of Discovered ATS, joins us to discuss how Discovered ATS has the potential to transform the hiring process forever. Discovered ATS is an all-in-one software as a service solution for businesses everywhere, and Fletcher will discuss the platform in detail and explain how his groundbreaking tool can help businesses small and large hire the best candidates. Welcome to BizCast, Fletcher, and thank you for joining us today.
Christian, thanks for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you on today. We have a lot of great things to discuss today, and thank you for joining us to share this exciting information. A lot of people underestimate the power of AI, and that's especially true in the business world. And when it comes to hiring, a lot of people aren't exactly aware of the fact that there are tools such as Discover ATS, which we will discuss in detail today, that can transform the hiring process forever and make it so much easier for them. And I mean, when I say make it easier for them, your tool could basically make hiring a piece of cake for businesses everywhere. So please introduce yourself and your company, Discovered ATS, to our listeners.
Yeah, I've spent my lifetime thinking about talent acquisition and the importance of getting the right people on the bus and on your team and the impact that they can have in your business. Over the last 4 years, we've compiled a number of our legacy products and services into one really amazing platform, Discovered. It has an applicant tracking system. It has AI helping automate many components of the hiring process to make, as you said, especially for small business owners or even HR professionals who are super busy, streamline a lot of those core activities. And then also includes, world-class series of 30 plus different assessment tools to really just make sure that people are hiring the right person, just not a person to do the job. So that's a little bit about it. And I know we're going to get into it more as we discuss some of the best practices in hiring and leveraging AI in that process.
Yes, that's correct. And small businesses, especially startups, people who are just starting out for the first time, they probably are not familiar with that talent acquisition process. They know they want to hire people to come on board, and they want to ensure that they hire the best candidates. They want their small businesses to shine. They don't want to just hire anybody. They want to make sure they acquire the best possible candidates to work for them. But when you're not familiar with the process, it opens doors for all sorts of mistakes. So what would you say is the biggest mistake companies make in general when it comes to the recruitment process? How can Discover help fix those?
Yeah, well, I think there's a number of different, challenges that people and pitfalls run into. We evangelize what we call a fact-driven hiring system. And so that, just break it down for you a little bit to help with some context, is one is you got to have your foundation, your fundamentals kind of straight. And that's going to be one of the places that people make the biggest mistakes. You've got to attract the right people, but also a good volume of folks. If you're only choosing between two candidates and both candidates are terrible, then you got a problem, right? And then you have to have the right tools and systems that are scientifically backed to assess and evaluate candidates. And this is, as you mentioned, a lot of newer entrepreneurs or small businesses and even executives within large organizations aren't taught the best practices in how to interview and evaluate candidates to predict who's going to be the future rock star or future, A player. And then lastly, one of the most often overlooked spots in the hiring process is the training and onboarding. So just because you gave somebody an offer and they showed up on day one does not mean the hiring process is over. You're still looking between 90 and 360 days before that hiring process is, really coming to a close and that person is fully assimilated in the organization. I'd say, number one place that people drop the ball here is failing to prepare. So what I mean by that is we often say, hey, I need to hire a salesperson or an admin or a project manager or a developer, or you pick the role. Is we fail to clearly identify how success will be measured in the role, what activities this person will be performing or doing in clear and measurable terms that will drive those outcomes, and ultimately what problem this person solves for the customer, and that customer may be the outside customer that we service as a business or the internal customer who's helping solve the outside customer's problem. So I think starting there is a great place. And, AI offers a lot of really great tools there. In fact, I don't know if you'll have show notes, but I'm sharing with your audience a free GPT that we built to help walk people through getting that part correct.
Our audience is certainly going to be more than interested in checking that out. But before we get into that, I want to backtrack on a few things that you said. For one thing, it's important to remember that failing to prepare is preparing to fail. We've all heard that numerous times from the different mentors we've dealt with throughout life, especially in our careers. And everything that you're describing all falls back onto one fact, that a lot of business owners often get into business without even knowing what business is. They don't know the business aspect of whatever it is they're doing. I talk about this in several episodes. A lot of people have talents. For example, say they want to start a pizza shop. They may be the best in the world at making pizza, but do they know the business aspect of running a pizza shop? Marketing, operations, financials are all things they probably don't know. They only know their skill and nothing more. And the hiring process is amongst those things. If you don't know the business aspect in general, your business is not going to take off, and that includes hiring. Please tell us a little bit more about this GPT that you mentioned.
Yeah, so one of the things we did with Discovered is infused it with a lot of AI tools to really, step one, help walk people through creating job descriptions and job advertisements, which are two distinctly different things that are based on best practices, really, focusing on helping the hiring manager, the business owner, really clearly articulate what's expected in measurable terms. And that's crucial. So when we go out to the world and we need to start marketing our jobs, we need to be able to explain that to the people who are viewing our jobs on the job boards, to the people we're networking with, the people that are being referred in by friends and family or through our existing network. So wherever you're finding these people, a third-party recruiter that you pay $20 or $30 or $40,000 to refer somebody, wherever these candidates are coming from, you need to be able to share with them both a value proposition as well as clear expectations of what entails in the role, so that the people who are not fits will self-select out, and the people who are fits will gravitate to that message and that mission and those expectations. So Discover Platform helps folks do that almost overnight, almost instantly, in a blink of an eye, just by walking them through asking the right questions, but then leveraging AI to help transform all of that into great marketing messages. And then it shares that message across hundreds of job boards so that you're able to attract a large pool of highly relevant folks. And AI is also helping evaluate those resumes, matching it against your expectations. Again, if you haven't taken the time to be clear about your expectations, then the AI is going to work as good as any intern would and not do a very good job at doing that. So if we skip that crucial step, then the AI is only going to be somewhat helpful. But if you've done a good job at it, the AI can say, hey, this person's resume checks all these boxes and here's why, and be able to explain it back to you and ultimately help you build that pool of highly qualified candidates so that you can invest your time interviewing and screening and evaluating really the best people instead of the wrong people. And that's ultimately critical. And because we don't have any time, leveraging AI to streamline a process that used to take maybe 10 hours in many cases to do correctly can be done in minutes.
And I want to talk more about the AI backbone that Discovered has. So you've already given some very good key points over how it works, but how does Discovered's extravagant AI-powered engine find the best possible candidates for companies seeking to fill positions? So you have gone into that a little bit of detail here, but what does it have specifically that it's basically fireproof, that when it chooses candidates, it knows exactly who it's choosing, it knows the company, and it's able to tell the hiring managers, the business owners, this is the person you need to go with? What does it have specifically that ensures that it's picking the absolute best possible hires?
Well, look, AI is not, at that level yet. I'll tell you though, in, 10 years, well, probably sooner, it will be there. Again, a lot of that comes down to those fundamental steps, being crystal clear about who you're looking for. And so by walking through the mental exercise and the questions that we leverage that are really founded in science, right? So, if you want to do this right, you just follow the blueprint and answer the questions that we ask you that are based on really scientific best practices here, but otherwise garbage in, garbage out, right? So this is kind of what I was highlighting. The AI is only as good as the person using the tool itself. But if you do a great job of describing those things, AI is somewhere between 70 and 90% accurate in evaluating, say, a resume or even an interview. So interviewing somebody, the AI can evaluate that person against the job description, the core qualities and attributes that you're looking at. And it can do that at a relatively high level of accuracy. And it's increasing every day, almost exponentially, to the point that, volume hiring situations will be able to make those predictions, for folks. Today, it's a great sort of assistant in that process. But the more data we collect and the more experiences it has, the better and better it gets at that, right?
That's right. That's basically AI training. It's only as good as the person who's using it. The person who's using it has to train the AI bot to understand what it's talking about. And then eventually it'll be able to pick up on certain cues, certain verbal cues, and other identifying pieces of information. There's several variables involved to train an AI bot. But this might sound like a bit of a silly question, but do you think one day when AI truly does get advanced to that point, maybe 10 years or even 5 years from now, do you think hiring managers will one day be replaced by software that will be doing the interview, where it will be asking the candidates questions because it knows the candidate already based on the backbone technology of Discovered?
Yeah, I mean, it's already doing that today. The question is whether it can accurately predict who is a good fit, and it can do that, well enough. And again, it's pretty darn close at the current state. I think the real question is when will the humans trust the AI enough to say, yeah, whatever the AI says, I'm going with, and therefore remove themselves from that process. And I think the best analogy I can offer, if you own a Tesla, self-driving car, use the self-driving package, it's scary to use that for the first time ever. Like, I'm just going to just hand this over to the computer. Now, they also don't really let you hand it over completely. Then you've got Waymo, self-driving taxis. They have completely removed the driver from the vehicle at this point. And so it's a human acceptance that the AI, the robot, can do it better than they can. And that's the thing that's going to take a long time for it to really kick into the mainstream, where the humans are finally come to the conclusion that the AI does it better than they do, and they're going to accept that, and they're going to go spend their time doing some other activity that's more productive and more useful, right?
Right, because right now, people are becoming too dependent on AI when it's not fully developed yet. I mean, there's tools out there, like your tool, for example, that people could fully rely on if they want to hire the best people. But in terms of obtaining information, ChatGPT only knows so much. And same thing for Google's Gemini bot as well. A lot of times it's not accurate. I mean, for example, being that I own a digital marketing firm, I'm always studying up on things related to search engine optimization. And the article I read showed an example of AI delivering false information to people. So to test out how reliable Google's AI was, they went ahead and asked it a silly question. They asked it, how many rocks a day should I eat for a healthy diet? And Google answered back saying, I think it said you should eat at least 3 rocks a day for a well-balanced diet. See what I mean? AI is not fully there yet.
Best analogy to me is like hiring the smartest intern you're ever going to hire, right? Now, interns, come with a lot of bias, lack of knowledge and skill sets. And, they may not make a silly mistake like, I recommend a few rocks a day in your diet, but they're going to make a whole host of other mistakes. But you would never hire an intern to manage or execute your hiring process without close supervision from somebody who's a subject matter expert. So that's the same rule applies for AI. Obviously we can inspect an AI response and it says something silly like eat a few rocks a day. If hopefully you're smart enough to know that that's not good advice, then you could say, hey, look, that's wrong, and let me readjust or recalibrate or just disregard that advice or that guidance, right? I think, the AI has come actually quite a bit further than some of those early, newsworthy, crazy things that has happened. But to me, again, the analogy of the self-driving car is still there. You can sit behind the wheel of your Tesla hands off, but the human is still there to say, hey, there's a tire in the road or, a weird anomaly, so that the human expert driver can pick up and take over. That's a scenario where, it's the 0.001% of scenarios that occur on the road. You still need the expert driver, but 99.9% of the time, it does just fine without you.
Right. And of course, the engineers at Tesla kept the fact in mind that the human driver is still the expert. And that's why it's not a 100% self-driving car. It does have the brake pedal if you decide you want to stop the car rather than rely on the car to stop itself if it detects a pedestrian or an object or another vehicle in the road. That alone shows that they still want that human interaction just in case it's necessary.
Yeah. Again, I think it's a human acceptance thing. I take the example to Waymo. They've removed the driver. at this point. And statistically, it's exponentially safer than a human driver. So no driver behind the wheel is exponentially safer than a driver behind the wheel. But this is the inflection point when it comes to the hiring process that the humans, again, are going to have to get to a place of acceptance and trust that the AI can do it better than they can. And again, they're going to go spend their time somewhere where they can add more value to the world and to the productivity of their activities. So it's on its road there. Again, I think the thing that's going to slow it down is the human acceptance. That's why I give it a 10-year roadmap, not a tomorrow roadmap, because tomorrow it's already there. It can do it. The question is whether the human will relinquish all control or not.
Right. A lot of people are afraid that one day their jobs are going to be replaced with computers and robots, but that's a different discussion for another day. Before I ask you my next question, would it sound unrealistic to say that AI would be more accepted and more advanced in 5 years? I know 10 years sounds reasonable, but what about 5 years? 5 years is not a very long time.
Well, the experts say it's doubling every 2 years so in its capability, and we've just seen that with 01 being launched. It's exponentially better than 4.0, and it's going to accelerate faster than any technology's ever accelerated in human history. So, my general advice to everybody, young and old, is, get on the bandwagon and become an expert at leveraging AI. You don't have to understand it. You have to be an expert at leveraging.
Yes, I agree, because those who fail to leverage it and understand how to use it at the minimum are the ones that are going to get stuck behind. We've seen major corporations go out of business simply because they didn't keep up with the times, and that's especially true for the retail world. Speaking of groundbreaking changes in the world, my next question for you is, how is Discovered making a difference in the recruiting world versus more traditional tools that are out there already?
Just 10x's your capability to, find and evaluate candidates faster, right? And more accurately, ultimately, right? So, the human interviewer gets it wrong like 60 to 70% of the time. When you combine some traditional best practices with AI, you can get through the hiring process exponentially faster and improve your hiring outcomes by 60 to 90%. And that there's a variance there depending on the role and all sorts of other things. But that's all statistically proven, science-based, fact-driven hiring activities. So you can do it the old way and go manually post your job on job boards and receive resumes in your inbox and call each candidate and try to figure out if they're any good or not. Or you can use an AI assistant and a suite of tools that are statistically, scientifically proven to move the needle and assist you as a human to execute the process faster, but more importantly, do it with a higher probability of success.
Please walk us through the entire process that Discovered uses when it comes to hiring fresh talent. Please take us from the very first step all the way until when the candidate has been chosen.
I'll use kind of a perfect scenario. We have retained search. We do a lot of professional service search work, and we often have to hire recruiters. And so we hire US-based recruiters who are kind of the leads and who manage these processes and deal and work with the clients and are the trusted advisors. And they all typically have paired with them an offshore recruiter who's usually based in South America. So it's a lot of work to ultimately identify really, really high quality talent offshore. But I'm going to give this example. There's many others, but so I say to myself, hey, I need to hire a recruiter in Colombia, right? And I can simply go log into the platform, open a job posting, say, I need to hire a recruiter in Colombia. And for my company, the platform already knows about my company. It looks at our company website, and I don't have to give it any other information. If I want, I can, of course. Just like any other AI tool, I can feed it as much information as I like, but it can be as simple as that. So I want to hire a recruiter in Colombia. It already knows all about our company because it's looking at our website, and maybe I want to pay them X amount of dollars, right? And here's some details about our benefits and things like that. It creates a job post, sets it all up, posts it to hundreds of job boards where we can now be found. Then it gives me the option to set up an employee referral program where it'll ping, nurture and notify my existing employees about, hey, we got this new job opening, refer your friends. It sets up a recommended series of assessment testing tools, one-way video interview tool with a tailored interview guide, so specific to that role. It also creates a candidate scorecard to help me evaluate that candidate based on the things that will matter the most about whether or not this person will be a high performer. And then it also creates a reference checking link so that the candidate can provide their references, and it will go out and check those references automatically once the candidate provides the names and phone numbers and emails of their previous supervisors. And then you hit play and candidates start applying. And once the candidate applies, it'll reach out to those candidates and say, hey, thanks for applying. I have a series of assessments for you to complete. I would like to speak to your references, and I have a video interview I'd like you to complete. Candidate completes the tasks, or it will continue to nurture and bug the candidate until they complete the tasks. So they complete the assessment tests, they provide their references, they conduct an interview. AI evaluates them on their interview and based on the scorecard that it's created. And then it notifies the hiring manager and says, hey, I've got this candidate. Here are their assessment scores, their results. Here are their references and what they had to say about them. Here is their initial interview and how they were evaluated based on these structured criteria and what the AI had to say about how they performed in all those different areas based on their interview. What do you want to do next? And the human can simply click a button, say, I want to schedule that person for a final interview or an interview with me. It will reach out to that candidate and nurture them and, remind them and keep bugging them many times as needed to get them on my schedule. And that candidate will show up on my schedule in a day or two. And I can conduct a final interview, make an offer, and send them their offer letter and onboarding package, and off I go.
That's amazing. It's basically an all-in-one suite, and it does it all. It just takes so much of the work and does it for you. So that way it doesn't take endless hours or even endless days to get it done. Because normally, as you said earlier when we got started, it does take a long time to hire somebody, mainly because each one of these tasks takes a while to do whenever a hiring manager is conducting it themselves. Or maybe you have a team of hiring managers and they're not getting it done because they have so many candidates to take care of. This is basically the best thing since sliced bread in the hiring world.
Yeah, there was zero human interaction other than telling it what I wanted and conducting the final interview. And I suppose you could cut out the final interview if you really wanted to.
Right? That's true. Yeah, zero human interaction. That part I did get. What I was saying is that originally, when we were just relying on our human employees, it would take a lot longer. But once you have it all centralized into a nicely bundled software suite, it just takes care of all of the legwork. You don't have to spend countless hours trying to conduct interviews or do these assessments because the computer's doing it all for you.
Just writing the emails and creating the follow-ups and doing the follow-ups and the nudging and the phone calls and the coordinating of, meetings. I mean, there's all of those little details that go into a process. Humans become the bottleneck because I got to write an email to the candidate. Oh, I got to, go back and forth and finding a time that's good for both of us. I mean, I got to set up this assessment tool, or I got to, set up this video thing, or I got to figure out what interview questions to ask them. I mean, right. So there's a million little friction points as humans that maybe don't do this all that often or get stuck at certain steps in the process that the human has to stop, pause, think, and create or take action. And every time we ask the human to take action, especially in an area that's outside of their comfort zone, they delay, right? Let me think about it. I'll get back to that later, right?
And that's why AI is outpacing human interaction every day, because it's getting the things done that we're failing to get done.
Yeah, because we don't have the time or the expertise, one or both of those issues, right?
And I would also throw in there laziness as well. A lot of us are lazy too.
Yeah, I like to think most entrepreneurs and, executives, lazy is one way to think about it, but we're lazy because we have so many competing interests. And so we only have so much mental and emotional bandwidth to focus on certain things. And hiring tends to be, especially in small businesses and even in large organizations with executives who, at a single department level, don't do a lot of hiring, right? It's not something that they're doing every day, all day. So the moment you ask somebody to do something that's outside of their comfort zone or their area, their routine, it's very difficult to mentally spend the time to do that activity. And the less familiar you are with that activity, the harder it is to get started too.
And I want to say something about the comfort zone. In fact, I just mentioned this in the previous episode we just taped before this one. When I was in school, back when I was in college, I took a career development class. It was required for everybody to take. And our professor told us about the comfort zone theory, which basically says that you will never be successful until you step out of that comfort zone. You've got to be able to step out of it in order to truly make a breakthrough in your career or in the world in general. Now, there are limitations though, and I also mentioned this in that episode as well, that there are substitutions for what makes you feel uncomfortable. For example, if you're not comfortable speaking on camera, then you could always just speak off camera and just record a little audio clip of yourself talking. If you want to make some sort of video content, maybe you'll have a voiceover without a video of yourself talking, just an example. And secondly, this is just a message to all the aspiring entrepreneurs out there. Just because you want to break free from your 9 to 5 because you hate working for other people does not give you a right to be lazy as an entrepreneur either. When you become a business owner, you're stepping out there getting ready to take on the world on a much larger scale, because you're not just working your little 9 to 5 position anymore. Now you're wearing all the hats until you hire people. So there's no room for being lazy when you're a business owner, and utilize all these tools that we're talking about to your benefit. It's not laziness, it's helping you. It's helping you get a lot of the jobs done that maybe you don't have time to do, and you want to hire the best people. Discovered is your answer. And as I talk about this, I want to also ask you this as well. So small business owners often have limited resources out of the box when it comes to finding great candidates, and that's where Discovered steps in. What perks does Discovered specifically have for small businesses that can help them streamline their process better? Now, we've talked about the processes already, but what specific perks can small business owners specifically use to their benefit here that they probably won't be able to do themselves, or they can't find the right way of performing certain tasks within the recruiting process because they just get lost easily?
Yeah, as I kind of talked about before, a lot of executives, small business owners, they haven't been taught how to hire. They don't have taught how to execute the recruiting process. So we've worked with over 2,000 small business owners and helping them streamline their hiring process. So as much as, especially before AI, we were, as Aaron would put it, we were a service as a software, or as opposed to software as a service, right? So one of the things I think makes us unique is we're very, very client centric, and we strongly encourage our clients to spend time with us on Zoom or over the phone. And a lot of that is spent to help educate. And one of our core values is educate first. We educate ourselves by doing and practicing and staying on top of the best trends and science around hiring, but then sharing that content and those ideas and helping tailor those to the executive or the CEO's particular situation. There are, lots of different types of roles and lots of different kinds of nuances to the hiring process. We always encourage our small business owners to spend that time with us. We typically have a pretty structured onboarding process where day one, they're hiring and recruiting, and we just started up a new customer an hour ago and they had over 100 applicants for a couple of jobs they had posted. But we spent that time helping them understand some best practices on what to do next now that they have such a high volume of folks. So we're very hands-on in the educational piece, part of the freebies, and we've given you a link to our 8-hour e-learning course. So that's all the things that we teach people one-on-one. You can check it out. Hire Better's the promo code. And then we created tools like the Hiring GPT. Those, again, to help educate, streamline, teach our clients best practices, walk them through those best practices, remove the friction from learning how to do these things, and simply just guide people through those steps. So we do that through technology, and we do that through the human connection and spending a lot of time one-on-one, especially with those small business owners who are starting to try to get their head around these things.
Yes, and I encourage all the small business owners out there to start ironing up on these best practices, start learning more about what it takes to utilize these tools to their benefit. But yes, small business owners out there, if you really want to get into business and you don't plan on running the whole show by yourself, you're looking to hire, Discovered's your answer. Fletcher's provided some great tools here that can help you pick some great candidates, and I feel confident that you will not regret your decision to check out Discovered ATS and sign up for it. I mean, it truly is a great platform. There's nothing like it anywhere else out there. It's truly changing the world of business, especially in the hiring world.
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close out the episode. Is there anything else that you would like to discuss or mention that we did not cover earlier? Any additional best practices, any additional tips, or just anything in general that you would like to share with our audience?
Well, I could literally go on for hours and hours. So again, I'd encourage you to get the e-learning course. That's where, we go on for hours and hours there. But no, look, I encourage people to reach out to me. I'm happy happy to have these conversations with anybody. No skin off my back. I talk about this stuff in my sleep. I'm blessed with a very unique name, Fletcher Wimbush. You can just Google me. I'll come up on the top 10 pages of Google. You can find me on LinkedIn. Send me a message there, just letting me know that you heard me on Christian Podcast and you'd love to chat a little bit. You have some questions, you have a problem, you have a challenge. I'll gladly share my time for you, no cost, chat through whatever you got going on or whatever's on your head there. And then again, take advantage of those free resources and check out discovered.ai and feel free to toy around with that. Enjoy leveraging the best tools that are out there today in recruiting and hiring.
Yes, Fletcher has provided us some great tools, some great information, and you can check out Discovered at Discovered, which is DISCOVERED.ai, which will take you to their website and you can check out the tool, read some information about how it works and all of its benefits. And I highly recommend all the small business owners out there, and not just small business owners, but even those at larger corporations who work in HR departments who are trying to find great talent. This is a tool that you can benefit from as well. I can picture Discovered being implemented worldwide at every large corporation in the future because it is just that unique. It makes the hiring process so easy, and I just don't see why anybody would say no to this, why they would be against using it.
That would be probably a poor decision, but small business owners make a lot of decisions based on spending money, and they prefer to spend time versus money, and that sometimes a trade-off isn't always a wise use of their time, right? But for small business owners, Discovered is ridiculously inexpensive, comes in about $115 a month. So the cost versus time ROI equation there is, is ridiculous. So do it the hard way and spend hours and hours and hours, or do it the easy way and spend, a fraction of that time and use that time out selling or developing or working on your business versus in your business. Right.
Right. And that's one thing that many small business owners struggle with. And we did an episode about that back in October of 2023. We spoke with a business coach, Doug Winnie of Action Coach, and we did a whole episode discussing the difference between working in versus on your business. But you're right. It's a tool that'll definitely speed up the process. All those pitfalls that we discussed can be easily dodged. And before you know it, you have the right people coming into your door ready for the first day of work. And of course, the hiring process doesn't end right there. There's still several things that follow, as we discussed earlier. But yes, thank you, Fletcher. Thank you for sharing this wonderful information. This was extremely useful. I hope that all of our small business owners out there will check out Discovered at, once again, that's DISCOVERED.ai. If you want to check out Discovered in detail and sign up for it yourself, give it a try. Start hiring some great talent. That'll help your business reach its full potential. And thank you for listening to the CDG BizCast. We hope you have a great day. Fletcher, thanks again for joining us. The hiring world is going to be transformed greatly by all of your hard work.
Awesome. Thanks, Christian.